held here in the Francis Huntley Cooper Council Chambers. Attending tonight, myself, Chair, Alder Jetzer, Kim Lobdell, and Don Gutowski. Dave Wilburn is absent with excuse. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I do not believe we have any, Scott? No, sir. Okay. Then we'll move on to agenda item 3 alpha, approval of the October 16th minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Lobdell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetzer. Thank you, Patrick. Any questions, modifications, changes? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? All right, then we'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes from October 16th meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have agenda item number 4, report from our Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll start with some staffing updates. The utilities engineer, Chelsea Wilson, started on Wednesday, so she completed her 4th day today. And then our environmental engineering technician, his first day will be the first Monday in December, December 4th will be his first day. And then once he starts, we will be fully staffed within engineering. Next up, a couple project updates. Phase 1 Sayin Road reconstruction project. It still remains stop sign controlled. We're looking to have the traffic signals operational by mid-November, so within a week or two. Our Lacey Road Seminole Highway reconstruction project. All the asphalt has been installed. Today they started painting the striping for the project, and we're looking to have that opened up by the end of next week or the following week, weather dependent. And then our street resurfacing project, they were paving with 2 crews on Friday and also Saturday, so we're looking to get that wrapped up before the asphalt plants close. Our sidewalk replacement project all the sidewalk has been demoed, and they started pouring concrete last week Friday, so we're still on schedule to have that completed before December 1st of this year. And with that, does anyone have any questions? Bill?
So I ran on the shared use path on the north side of Lacey, and I noticed there was a section of porous pavement, then regular, then porous, then regular. What's the story with that? Why did we mix and match there?
I'm not sure. The design was completed prior to me coming on board. I can look into it to see why they did it like that, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe back to the board on that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Tim, just Osmondson had folks that lived there. Was there a sinkhole or something that needed to get fixed?
Yeah, so with Osmondson, we did have a sinkhole, a pipe that we had to repair, so that took some time. We didn't want to obviously pave the road and then open cut it to make the repair, so we had to make the repair, and then that's what kind of held up that project. But the repair's been complete, and Osmondson will be paved. Let me see, just right here. I think within either this week or next week is the anticipated schedule.
Okay. And then the barrels are all removed. You still got quite a lip on all those manholes.
On Osmondson?
Yeah.
We'll take a look with that. Last week, someone mentioned that to us, and we instructed the contractor to put them back. So I think this morning Ross was checking in to make sure all the barrels were put back. Did you see them gone today, or?
I didn't go by there today.
Okay,
so.
yeah.
Anyone else? And I just had 2. Does the sidewalk contractor, he has enough barricades with all the removals of the sections to have those sidewalks barricaded, or how is he?
Yeah, he has them, I believe, taped off with caution tape and stakes.
Okay. Second question, Tim, that repair for the sinkhole on Osmondson, our utility crew do that repair?
No, I believe we did a change order for the contractor to do that.
Okay. And what was it a stormwater pipe or?
I believe it was stormwater that was in need of the repair.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm glad we're fully staffed. It's been a long journey. I know I would like to not hear a personnel update from you in a year. Maybe a year would be nice, but we know it's pretty fluid employment situation. So, but congratulations on getting there, Tim. Okay. All right, that'll bring us to our agenda items then. First one is 5 Alpha Resolution R 19923, approving contract with Helm Services for library chiller replacement. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. As we see in the notes, we Strand designed this, the replacement. Went out for bids last year. We only had one. We went out again this year. We had 3, and the same one that bid last year, Helm, was the low bid, and it's approximately 330,000, or was it 303? Tim, I'll let you go over the details and schedule here.
Sure. As
Did we? Yeah, we moved. Okay. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
As Chair Herbst mentioned, last year the city had put out a bid for just the heating and cooling equipment. That was back in October 2022. Reason for separating out the equipment from the installation was the long lead time on the equipment for the heating and cooling. So we procured that back earlier this year, I believe end of February, beginning of March, and the anticipated delivery date of the equipment is March of 2024. And this bid was for the installation of that equipment. We received 3 qualified bids back in August. Looking to approve the contract for Helm Service, who was the lowest and most qualified contractor. They also replaced the boilers at the community center last year. And we're looking to award the contract in the amount of $303,048 plus a 5% contingency of $15,152. So the total contract would be $318,200.
Board members, questions for Tim?
How is this being paid for?
This is through ARPA funding.
Bill? Yeah, so I went back and I looked at the February agenda packet for the actual purchase of the equipment. That was $243,000. So does this 303 include that, or does it really cost $300,000 to install a $240,000 piece of equipment?
Correct. It costs $303,000 to install the $240,000 piece of equipment. So the total project's $550,000.
Tim, I know this was before you started. What did we pay Strand for the design?
Strand's cost for the design, it's $80,000. However, it included the bid packages for both the equipment and then also the bid packages for the installation. So they helped us through the bid process. We're under budget, I believe, by $15,000 or $20,000 right now. So what we're looking to do is to then use that remaining budget for construction inspection services when the equipment gets installed. So essentially that $80,000 would have covered design, 2 bid pack services, and then also the construction engineering inspection.
Okay. So we're spending over $600,000, on a, decent percentage of what the library itself cost when we built it. We have to do this, but it's, and I didn't sense that we chinced, when we built this on those things. It was operated improperly, I guess, with the cycling and things like that. But this one's it's a lot of money for an underutilized building, but we have to do it. Any other questions on this?
I do have one, Tim. What kind of warranty do we have with this? We bought the equipment ahead of time. You got an installer. We're putting it in the fall, so we're really not going to test out the AC too well.
So the warranty starts once the equipment is installed. So with the equipment arriving in March, we're looking to have it installed, I believe by the end of April, have substantial completion. So they can start some of the demo work prior to the equipment being installed. And then once it is installed and we accept it, the warranty would start. And it'd be I believe either a 12-month or 14-month warranty for this work.
Do we have, are we able to heat this building through the winter?
What was that?
This is coming in April. Are we able to heat the building through the winter? We don't have any
So
problem with that?
we did, also part of Strand's $80,000 was to come up with a temporary heating contingency plan in case it did go out. Obviously, if it's like a small repair that's not too costly, we'd go ahead and repair it. But if it's a, $20,000 or $30,000 repair, we would look to temporary heat the library with some temporary heaters, and we've had several internal meetings with the library, fire department, building services to go over the contingency plan in case it does get knocked out in winter. We actually feel taking it down in March is a lot better option than taking it down in December. The only downfall to that is you have more time for something to go wrong.
Yeah.
But hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have to use that contingency plan, but we do have it in place in case we do.
All right. Any other questions? Bill?
Yeah, I noticed that one of Helm's references was Tracy Foss. That's because of the boilers?
Yes. Yep. And they did a great job. We were happy with them and with the installation and the equipment.
If it happened during the winter, during a particular cold, would we consider closing the library for a short time and just get some temporary heating to keep pipes from freezing?
The temporary heating would be exactly used to keep the pipes from freezing and above, but it wouldn't be habitable.
Okay. Makes sense. Keep our fingers crossed. Anyone else? Okay. Then we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving Resolution R-199-23, approving contract with Helm Services for library chiller, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have agenda item 5 Bravo, ordinance 2023-0-21, amending Chapter 68, Article 3, Division 4, speed limits, amending 68-181, 13, and deleting Section 68-182 for reducing speed limits on East Sherrill Parkway. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, moved by Kim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. What I'd like to do, Tim, maybe you give us the Reader's Digest, and then we're going to invite people that have registered to speak on this. We'll probably start with Jay Hockmuth first, and we'll go from there. Okay.
So this ordinance was originally sponsored by Alders Allen and Gerhardt, and then at the November 6, 2023 Board of Public Works meeting, we had postponed it. You had requested that we look more into the crash data and the speed study that was completed for this. So our transportation engineer, Ross Kaler, had put together this memo and to look into, the crashes and also the speed study that was done at one of the intersections along this segment of the roadway. And essentially, based on his evaluation, the recommendation was to lower the speed limit. Basically, two options. To be consistent along this corridor, we could lower it from Fish Hatchery Road west all the way to Lacey Road and make it a consistent 30 miles per hour, which is different than what the original ordinance had proposed, which was 25 miles per hour just from Fahey Glen west to Lacey. The second option that Ross had recommended was to lower the speed limit to 30 miles per hour from the original location that was proposed in the ordinance, which was from Fahey Glen west to Lacey Road. And that would be a consistent 30. And then we would look at potentially the segment from Fish Hatchery to Fahey Glen at a later date.
All right, I'd like to speak on this. So, Patrick, would you like to go first? Sure. Patrick, name and address, and then we'll call Katie and then Karen.
What about Jay?
Jay's for a different item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jay, I was mistaken. Okay.
Patrick Cheney, 5211 Kitty Crest. So, all of what I said before at the last meeting, plus more. East Sherrill is definitely, absolutely not a residential street and should not be 25 like this ordinance requests and like all the other streets in Swan Creek. It is a business thoroughfare. It connects straight to Highway 14. East Sherrill is the same as Lacey Road and Irish Lane for our limited east-west streets. And it already has enough impediments on it to push traffic off of it. I see Dave Wilburn is not here, but I know from the past Dave Wilburn doesn't want more traffic pushed onto Lacey where he lives. Ross Kaler's data proves it works fine at 35. There's no crash incidents due to speed, and most all go 35, so it's perfect. The simple solution, as I believe Kim said, is to just stripe the curb an additional 50 feet, as mentioned in Ross's memo, upstream of Garden Place, and be done with it. Just because someone lives along here, whether it's in the condos or anywhere else, and they don't like the traffic going by them, they have two choices. Put up and zip it, or move. They don't need to change the whole area traffic flow to suit them. Now, I discovered an error. Sain east to Lacey, not west, east. Sain east to the Lacey roundabout is not 30 miles an hour right now, as everyone thinks it is. It is posted at 35. There's a speed limit sign just east of the Quick Trip for eastbound. There's no speed limit sign at all for this 2-block section westbound. I drove through it several times. Now, this is contrary to Russ Kaler's memo about keep the same speed all through here, but if you must mess with the speed limits, just make Sain east to the roundabout at 30, which everyone thinks it is right now, and for only this 2 blocks and past the Quick Trip. No one will see it anyway, and they'll still go the same speed. Now, TTC passed this in less than 5 minutes, but they'll lower the speed limit anywhere, anytime. So, my recommendation is BPW has the last shot at this before it goes to the council. And I recommend that you should amend this resolution with a clear, strong statement to the council and recommend just striping the curb an extra 50 feet and nothing else really. But again, if you got to mess with the speed limit, no more than the 2 blocks for 30, nothing else, don't touch anything else. And make sure it's a clear statement, or, the 2 of you on the council know what will happen. The council will say, TTC said yes, BPW said no, and they'll ignore both of you. That's all I have on that, and there is just one more point that I need to drive, and that is no Sain roundabout. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Got my own.
Good job. Nice timing, Patrick. All right. Thank you, Patrick. Katie, would you like to come next?
What to do, so.
Just state your name and address. And
Okay.
then you can take off.
Okay. Hi, I'm Katie Sellner. I live at 5182 Nine Bark Drive in Fitchburg. And I just have a few comments. I guess I spoke against the speed limit changing. I'm kind of ambivalent, but I feel like it's just a few points. As you know, living in Nine Bark, I live in the crux of all of the construction that's been going on in the last few years. In the Cyene, East Sherrill, Lacey Road area. I feel at this point, until that construction is done, which I understand now is happening until 2025, that it's probably challenging to get an accurate picture of the traffic patterns with all the road closures, detours, etc. I think it may be better to decide after Cyene is done in 2025 if you still want to look at it and decide if that's something that needs to be changed with respect to the speed limit, especially after the stoplights are operational and if they add the roundabout at Cyene and Nine Bark. So I think at this point there needs to be a little bit more normal traffic once all of the work is done in the area. Also, living on Nine Bark and having a detour a couple different times over the last couple years, if you lower the speed limit and there's little to no enforcement, which I realize they don't have manpower, then I really question how effective it will be. I live on Nine Bark, like I said, and I've been a regular witness to lack of speed enforcement, so changing a speed limit is only effective if it's enforced. And there isn't a lot of enforcement. Keeping it at 35 would be similar to the other speed limits of arterial area roads like South Cyene, Lacey, Fish Hatchery, which is actually 40. So there is to save for some consistency. As far as the suggestion I would have in the interim would be to potentially add an electronic speed limit sign, perhaps on East Sherrill. They are effective, I think. The one they've added on Cyene is effective. The one on Lacey Road, I think, is effective. At least it lets people give them a heads up. Also, you could potentially add one of those RFFBs, the beacon passenger crosswalk lights that they have, like on West Wash and Park Street. I volunteer at the Overture. I go into West Wash a lot. They're very effective. If there's a concern about an intersection that is a challenge for pedestrians, that could be a very easy solution, and I think they're quite effective. I use them a lot. I used to dog walk on the west side of Madison. For the most part, people do respect those. So those would be my suggestions, as opposed to blanket reducing the speed limit, which I'm not sure is the right answer at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Karen, would you like to come up now? Just ask you to state your name and address for the record, Karen.
Okay. Karen Lawrence, 5234 Oak Haven Road. This goes down. And I'm opposed to it, and I can tell you why. First of all, I'm afraid it's going to put more traffic on parallel streets, especially Irish Lane, because that has a 45-mile speed limit, and there is so much traffic on that lately that I think people are going away from other places to go faster through that particular street, and I don't want to see any more out there. And I live on Oak Haven, which is a 25-mile-an-hour street. It doesn't guarantee that people are going 25 miles an hour at all. They'll do what they want. And what I found out from talking to people is when they get frustrated about being in a speed limit area that they don't agree with or they think is ridiculous, they're going to blow it off anyway. And I think on the Cyene, now you've got a stoplight, you've got another, you're putting stoplights and things like that to slow traffic down. Why do you need the speed limit to go down too? To me, it's too much. It's just, anyway, everybody said it before me.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Did you want to speak?
I'd like to.
Yeah, come on up. Figured that's why you came.
Well, keep on hitting the horse over the head. You know,
Okay.
sometimes you just wonder if it's going to keep on going.
State name and address again for the record.
Paul Sutphin. I live on Arch Lane, and it's now become the Autobahn, and they don't stop at the stop signs, and at night they have races. But get back to lowering the speed limit. Arch Lane, they lowered the speed limit once. We were 45. It's 35. Well, now they brought it down. You know, now the guys drive 55. So, I mean, it helped out a little bit. But lowering the speed limit isn't the ticket. You had to put an obstacle. Okay. And on Arch Lane, I've offered 3 different obstacles to slow the traffic down. But on Lacey and stuff, if you put stop signs down, you don't have to slow traffic down. And the traffic, I've been driving on Sherrill and Lacey lately, and people are passing me on Lacey, going around the roundabout. So don't tell me that the object is we got to put stop signs, or else, like the lady said ahead of me, those flashing yellow lines, so people can cross the roads without worrying about somebody schmucking them. Yes, and I know that you said that we don't make the criteria, but the criteria isn't made, but I sure hope the heck no one gets smucked trying to cross roads. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. I'm going to open it up to the board here I'd like to hear your board's thoughts on this. Maybe Don will work this way.
Tim, what's a road classified as? Is it a principal arterial like the other roads they're referencing?
No, it's not. It's I believe it's a collector road.
Okay, and it's not built out yet around there.
Correct.
So ultimately, what's the speed limit figured to be once it's all built out in the area?
Well, based off Ross's analogy, he used the U.S. Limit S2, which is the web-based tool that the Florida Highway Association or Administration recommends, and based on kind of the inputs, it recommended 30 miles per hour, which is what the memo that was written recommends.
So Ross is recommending 30 and then change some of the parking?
Yes, based the site distance at, I believe the intersection would be, let me just see, Gardens Way and East Sherrill Parkway, adjusting the site distance coming off that driveway was the only location that needed to be adjusted.
And then any other, I think it was recommended hawks or rectangular flashing beacons or anything like that?
No, we didn't look into that.
Okay.
Did you have a comment?
Why not?
Oh, we're just looking at the speed right now. You know, it might be a design feature we get to, but it wasn't included in the ordinance request. Anything? Kim?
I think Ross did a really nice job of collecting this information and putting it together and presenting it. I definitely was not in favor of the roadway going down to 25 mile an hour. I think that was too slow, given the 85th percentile speed. Now I see we got the whole more of the speed study here where the 50th or the median was 32 miles an hour. So I guess I'm comfortable with 30 or 35. Personally, I think that leaving it at 35 from Fish Hatchery to Syene, because I believe that area is pretty much all built out. The part that's not built out is from Syene to Lacey. And I agree that the parking should be restricted further at that intersection. I believe that will help improve the sight distance. So I guess from my traffic engineering standpoint, in reading the study as it's presented, again, like you said, we had the crash history, and it does not show a history of any crashes really related to the speed issue. Since it's sort of between the 30 and the 35, I could go either way. I would have voted against it if we had decided to go down to 25, because I don't believe that is necessary for this roadway. And like we said, there are no driveways along East Sherrill. It was designed not to have access points other than like to the complexes. So they knew that it wasn't going to be individual people, turning into their driveways. There's a lot of traffic on there. There is a lot of parking on there because there's a lot of the row houses or the townhouses or that type of thing there. So I guess I don't think that 30 is too low, but I also think that it's adequately serviced at 35 miles an hour, but definitely agree that the restricted parking should be brought back from that intersection. And I never did say that it doesn't meet the criteria for the flashing lights. My comment was that you have to check the criteria for the flashing lights before you can decide if it's met or if it is not. I do also agree that there has been a lot of construction around that whole area for the last year. I don't believe you need to wait till 2025 until the last part of Syene Road in order to determine what's going on. I think it could be done once the signals are installed. That is also going to have an effect on the traffic on East Sherrill once those signals are functional. And I believe once people get used to that, if you wanted to recheck speeds, you could at that point in time. But I guess I don't feel you need to wait till 2025 to look at it. And I do believe that the data that we have is probably representative of what it's going to be it a stop controlled or a signal controlled.
Thank you, Kim. Bill?
Yeah, I guess, first of all, I'm a little confused as to why anybody who would normally drive on Sherrill would, go south even to Lacey, much less, like a mile and a third to Irish Lane, just to drive that stretch. If they're going to go that far, then their destination must be further south, and then why not use that alternate road? So I'm a little confused as to how that speed limit change would drive traffic to parallel roads that are, far enough away that you're not going to save any time. And Sherrill, it does separate residents from a park. The Swan Creek apartments there, they live across the street from Swan Creek Park. The gardens on the south is right across from a big empty area. I don't know if that's subject to development in the future or not, but I presume there's plenty of people who want to walk their dog there. I did notice that the U.S. Limit study there noted that pedestrian and bicycle activity is high. That certainly is an argument in favor of lowering the speed limit. I found it a little amusing, maybe, that it says a crash with a speed differential of 10 miles per hour has 20 times greater injury severity than a speed differential of 5 miles per hour. So they were concerned about lowering the speed limit below the 50th percentile. But I don't know any pedestrians who are traveling that fast, and very few bikers are going over 15 miles per hour. So if we're concerned with safety in an area that is marked as high activity for bicycles and pedestrians, then, again, that would favor the lower speed limit. So I guess those are my comments.
Thank you, Bill. I'll put in my 2 cents here, and then we'll see if we have a consensus. One, as Katie mentioned, I think our traffic patterns are in flux until Sain Road is done. You know, and people, we've heard, well, I've seen more traffic. Well, you were going to see more traffic when Lacey Road intersection with Sain was closed, you know, so the traffic patterns, you know, they're in flux, but I'm not, I think they'll settle down, you know, once the road is done. Second, yeah, the road is designed exactly, it's functioning exactly the way we designed it. I was here when we put it in, and we could have made a straight thoroughfare, and it was designed specifically that way to limit the speed to 35. It's doing exactly that. I can't name many things in the city that we've done that work exactly that well. The third point I'd like to make, whatever we choose to do, I would like to be done with this from Fish Hatchery Road to Lacey. I would like, you know, whatever, we leave it at 35, we go to 30, whatever, I think we should just make the whole section and be done with that. I don't like different speed sections along a similar section of a road. That's just it's a trap. It's a problem. I'm not in favor. I don't want to put stop signs in, but I am, you know, I would be open to a speed board or you know, the beacon. But again, that has to be studied more. The one concern I have is, you know, our intersection there with Sain, you know, if you got the green light, having a little better control there will be there's a lot of pedestrian, a lot of everything at that section. So as much as I like the 35, I could accept the 30, but I certainly do not want a 25 mile an hour speed limit for that. So I guess at this point, I'd maybe like to get a poll of the, you know, before we vote, but get a poll of which direction we're looking for. I can live with the 30. I think it's maybe a good compromise, but I could be convinced to leave it at 35 if we put a beacon or a speed board on there. I don't think we're ever going to get much higher than that, but that's where I'm at. Bill, we'll go this way this time.
Well, like I said, I'm in favor of lowering the speed limit. And if 30 is as low as this board is willing to go, then let's do it all the way from Fish Hatch to Lacey, like you said, for consistency's sake.
Thank you. Kim?
I agree with your comments. If you would ask me from a complete traffic engineering standpoint, I would say 35 mile an hour is adequate. People seem to be observing that speed limit. The median is 32, which is sort of halfway between the 30 and the 35. I believe that it would still function that way. I find it interesting that the city thinks that it's 30 miles between Sain and Lacey, but the sign up there a block past, if the gentleman is correct, says 35 mile an hour now. So right now everybody thinks the whole road is 35 miles an hour. So I guess from my traffic engineering standpoint, I would be comfortable with leaving it at 35 miles an hour, but I also would not be opposed, as Dave said, to it going down to 30 and leaving it for consistency's sake. The one advantage maybe in that aspect is once the signal is at Sain and East Sherrill, if people think it's going to turn to yellow, they would tend to speed up, you know, just to so they make the signal so they don't have to wait. And if they're going 30 miles an hour, there's a lot bigger chance of stopping at the signal than there would be for gunning it and trying to make it through. So I could see that would be a positive for taking it to 30 miles an hour, so.
Don?
I'm okay with what the city engineer recommended, but for consistency's sake, I agree. Just let's keep it the same speed limit so we're not going up and down from Lacey to the whole stretch at 30. So I'm good with that.
So I don't think we can have a concurrence for 30, Tim. Would the ordinance have to be amended to say, we'd like that same speed limit from Fish Hatchery all the way to on Lacey?
Correct.
Okay. So would someone like to offer that as an amendment to this ordinance to 30 mile limit, 30 mile per hour limit, be the entire length of the road from Fish Hatchery to Lacey? Someone like to offer that amendment?
So what is it now from Fish Hatchery to
35 miles per hour.
And you were not addressing that part of it in this ordinance?
That was one of the recommendations. There was two options. One, to keep the original limits that were proposed by the original ordinance, which was from Fahey Glen east to Lacey. And then the second option was just to lower it from Fish Hatchery east to Lacey.
Okay. But the ordinance is not written that way, it's written the other way, so we would have to modify the ordinance, is that
Well,
correct?
the ordinance is written how it's currently or was originally proposed. So, based on what council would approve, then we would amend it after that. It wouldn't get amended till after council approves it. We'd leave it currently how it's proposed but originally proposed. But the referral sheet would be updated to reflect what the Board of Public Works has voted for.
Okay.
You're saying we don't need an amendment that this would be hashed out at council? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah, you guys will have to vote
Yeah.
and make a recommendation to council, and then council will take into consideration what TTC voted, how you voted, and then ultimately they'll make a vote on the ultimate decision.
So if we vote in favor of the ordinance, what are we voting for, I guess, at this point? Or do we not want to vote on the ordinance at all? We just want to make a recommendation to you.
You'd vote on the recommendation.
Recommendation is 30 miles an hour.
Correct.
With the stop control at that intersection for parking to be restricted based on the chart that's in the thing, based on the speed limit that it becomes, correct?
Correct.
All right, then I think we vote on the resolution as is, with the 30 mile an hour speed limit. And we would recommend to council that it be the entire street so that we don't, having changing speed limits within an urban service territory is a disaster. And it's,
Dave, I think we have to vote on the ordinance as written, so 25 miles per hour from Fahey to Lacey, and then we can vote that up or down, and then include recommendations.
Correct.
All right, sounds good. Then we'll call the vote then. All in favor of ordinance 2023-0-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Nay.
Hey,
Nay. So the ordinance does not pass. We would like to recommend to a referral, recommend to council that it be 30 miles an hour for the 30 miles an hour for the entire section of the road would be our recommendation to council.
And do we need to vote on that? I think we probably should, just so we know if it's unanimous or if it's not.
We have to amend it though, right?
No, there is no resolution.
There is no
That we're just
resolution.
making a
Okay.
recommendation.
All right. So
It was
then-
an ordinance.
Okay, then we'll call the vote again. This would be in favor of the 30 mile an hour, based on Ross's study, 30 mile an hour speed limit for this section of the road.
With parking restrictions to
Parking-
match,
with parking
to match
restrictions to
the
match, that
posted
would
speed
not-
limit.
That would not change. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Can I just
Oh,
have
go ahead,
Wait.
Don.
clarity?
I'm sorry.
Because Ross didn't recommend same speed limit from
He
Fish
did not.
all the way to Lacey.
He did.
He did?
Yes. There's two options. He recommended that you could go either way. One was from Fish Hatchery east to Lacey. And then the second option was to keep the original limits of Fahey Glen east to Lacey and don't touch Fish Hatchery to Fahey Glen.
So what's that option called from Fish to Lacey? Does it have a name that we can recommend?
No, it does not, but I believe he there was a letter associated with it, so within his memo, it would be bullet A, where lowering the speed limit from Fish Hatchery Road to Sain Road to 30 miles per hour, which is on page 336 of the agenda packet.
It's on page.
36?
on
Three
page
336.
It's on page 41 of our 78 page.
Okay, I was gonna say, we don't have 336
So
pages.
Tim, you might-
I do.
Yeah, you might have the full 300 pages for the chiller, right?
Yes.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a.
All right. So we're gonna call the vote on the Fish Hatchery to Lacey, we call it bullet A.
Which is his recommendation
Which is his
A.
recommendation,
A.
A, for 30 miles an hour.
It says
Fish
lowering.
Hatchery to Lacey with the restricted parking.
Oh, he does cut it off at Sain, but he thought from Sain to, no, but from Sain to Lacey was already 30. So then it would all be consistent is what he was intending, I believe.
Intent would be, what we were voting on in bullet A, a consistent 30 mile an hour from Fish Hatchery Road to Lacey with parking restrictions, as noted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll just note for the record, I'll say aye because I'm in favor of the parking restriction,
Okay.
additional sight
Can
lines.
that be noted for Alder Jetser in the minutes? Okay. All right. Good. We're going to move on then. Thank you. Good discussion. A lot of good thought into that. Next, we have Resolution 5 Delta, Resolution R 19723, approving the amended traffic management process. Did I miss one? I did. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get done too fast. Move approval of ordinance 2023-022, amending Chapter 68, Article 4, Division 2, prohibited parking, adding 68 through 231, 47 through 50, and adding 68 through 236 bicycle lanes. Do you have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Approved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second? Okay. Second by Kim Lobdell. This is in the Belmar area. Some parking on Chapel Valley and a few other sections.
So it's not just Belmar.
I think it's just in Belmar, isn't it? No, it's not.
Chapel Valley from Brendan is not.
Yeah, that's just north of McKee Farms
Yeah,
Park.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry, yeah. So,
Basically, what is
Can-
it
can we
saying?
do we have a map that we can bring up where these sections are, just for anyone's watching? Okay. Are you able to find the city?
Yeah, just give me
city
a
map here,
minute.
Tim? I'm sorry, I should have, sorry to put you on the spot, I should have,
So the first section is from Chapel Valley Road. It's from Brendan Avenue, kind of southwest here to, I believe, 210 feet to get past this crosswalk right here.
Tim, I think it goes just to that driveway. So that,
Right here.
yes, so I presume that was done just for the sight lines for the driveway, to take it to that point.
Yeah, and well, there's this mid-block crosswalk too. That
Right, but instead of stopping there,
Right,
it went to
right.
the, yeah.
yeah, yep.
So that section would be no parking in that.
Both sides of the road.
Both sides.
No parking, okay. Actually, how many feet is that? Is it?
210 feet, it says,
Okay.
ending 200 feet west of Brendan.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. And anyone have any questions on that one? We'll kind of look at all of them here and then.
I'll just say that I live near there, and it's a harrowing experience driving through there when there's cars parked on both sides.
Thank you for that endorsement, I appreciate it. Okay. First-hand knowledge is always means a lot to me. Okay. All right, next one that we have.
Next one would be Red Arrow.
Red Arrow from Genuine to,
From Genuine, I believe 110 feet or 100 feet
100 feet.
north, and it's for these bus stops
yeah,
at the.
yes, okay. The bus curb is, or the bus stop is under the tree there, is it somewhere? Or
Correct.
Can you see the pads? Okay. All right.
So there's a bus stop on the north and the south there. There's two blue dots. Are we talking about only from Genuine North, or are we going to also?
Just to the north.
Interesting.
So we're looking to start on the west side of Red Arrow, starting at Genuine and ending 100 feet north. So that was per the request of Madison Metro to do that.
You have a question on that, Bill?
I think it's because the street is there in between, so the bus stop that is south of there's a clear enough distance for them to be able to see, and it's just the one on the north if they're
Perhaps. And I think maybe
coming
the
that
bus
way.
stop on the south is actually on Genuine,
Yeah.
not on Red Arrow.
Okay. All right,
The third one?
third one.
Third one is out in Terravesa. So it's along Rodizio Drive here from Brassica, right here, kind of southeast to, I believe it was Romaine.
Yeah, Romaine.
Okay.
And the reason for this is just during school, we wanted to keep it clear. So from 7:30 to, I believe it's 4 p.m. on school days only, it'd be no parking on the southwest side of that roadway.
Okay.
And then the fourth location is Mizuna Drive with from Brassica down to Romaine also, kind of on the southwest side of the roadway during school hours, or from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. School days only.
Okay. Those all seem, they make sense to me.
Well, yeah, is it because of people parking there waiting to pick up their kids, or what?
Correct.
What? Okay. And so where are these people going to
Yeah,
go?
that's my
Yeah.
next question, yeah.
Well, and I believe too, it's with the construction going on. So we're looking to move the construction people off the roadway too, so school can get through.
Okay. Is there,
But
is there a pull-off by the school, or are they able to loop through the parking lot, or,
I mean, here's kind of the footprint of the
Yeah.
school.
Okay.
So the city has it's a 90 days we're allowed to do a temporary. We have put the signs up and it has worked. So
Tim, let me ask, you say it's, because of the construction, does it need to be permanent, is, I guess, what I would ask you.
yes, from the results we've seen from the signs, we haven't had the issues that we were having prior to those signs being installed.
But if it's mostly being used by construction workers now and they're going to be done when the road is constructed, then maybe it
Well,
wouldn't
it's
be.
not
No?
predominantly used
Oh,
by
okay.
them. They're just one of the uses.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Was that all of them? I believe.
And Tim, there's additional, much skinnier roadways in Terra Vista there. Are those like the alleys between the houses there? You can't tell from this satellite image, it's too old. But whatever that is, just to the east of Radicchio Drive there, and then I think there may be another one before you get to Mizuna.
You talking this,
Yeah.
like
Those are
right
private.
here?
Those are private, aren't they?
Yeah, this looks like a private, but it does look like an alleyway because it's going between this parcel and then
I
these
think
parcels.
That's probably what it is then. The alley, there's houses on both sides of them. That's how they get to their garages.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right, Bill. I don't have any, these all seem reasonable to me. Where did the requests for these come from, Tim?
I believe the school.
Okay. All right. School, Mass and Matt, and Bill, did you bring forward the concern for the other one by your?
I believe that the neighborhood did.
Neighborhood did?
Chapel Valley, some of the residents in that area had brought it up to Alder Gerhardt.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions on this? Then, all in favor of, go ahead, Bill.
We haven't talked about the additional component, which is no parking in bike lanes. We haven't explicitly said anything about that, but that's also part of this.
Yes, so as part of amending this chapter and ordinance, the section 2 would state no person shall stop, stand, or park any vehicle in any clearly and appropriately marked bicycle lane.
Anywhere in the city?
Correct.
I'm not, I won't go that far, but.
Haven't either. It seems like there's, to restrict it in anywhere, that seems like it's,
If every street was, like Lacey going this way, we have the bike lane.
any vehicle, any clearly and appropriately marked. So in the bike lane,
In the bike lane.
because a lot of times you have a bike lane and then you have parking on either side of it already, and that parking would still be allowed?
Yes. What we're having issues with, people are, especially by the Limerick, so those apartments there's the bike lane on the north side of Lacey Road, and people are parking within the bike lane going into the apartment, visiting residents, and leaving their car parked for hours in the bike lane. So it's to prohibit that.
Where else would they go?
Park in a parking stall in the parking lot.
But if they're visitors, they probably don't have visitor
There's
parking. Is
visiting
there?
parking there. As part of that apartment complex.
I don't know who would stay.
They're just not,
Who would stay out in the street if you could get off the street? Yeah, we're not here to.
that was
discuss-
just one, that's one instance.
We're not here to discuss human
Right.
behavior. We don't have enough time. I don't have enough time in my life for that.
But it being all-inclusive on every bike lane in the city, it's
So
that,
I guess you guys want parking within the bike lanes? Is that, I don't know, it's a state.
so why is
it's
it
a
not
state
already
statute
prohibited?
also.
Why is it not already prohibited? Why do we have to add it to this? Because right now it is allowed to park in the bike lane, is that correct? Throughout the city?
It's not explicitly stated, I guess, so this is explicitly stating it within the city's ordinance, so we can enforce it now, where before we can't enforce it.
Tim, you mentioned a state statute. What is that? I don't remember reading about that in here, but.
Yeah, but Ross had mentioned there is a state statute similar to this, and we're just looking to, I guess, have our ordinance more match that by explicitly stating it.
It makes sense that you shouldn't be parking in a travel lane.
Correct, right.
if there's a state statute already, it should already be prohibited, and then you could enforce it the way, where you need to now.
Yeah, but we don't, our local.
I don't know if our local
doesn't-
can do it without
doesn't
our
enforce state
ordinances.
statutes, do we? I don't- I'm kind of ignorant on that.
I don't have an issue with it. In most cases, I don't think people should be parking in a bike lane. It's just by you say every single bike lane in the city that's striped. My mind can't get around the fact as to where that is. Everywhere in the city where there is a striped bike lane, or, clearly and appropriately marked bike lane, I think that could be open to some interpretation too. Somebody could park there and say, I had no idea that was really. So it's like, what is the appropriately marked bike lane? Clearly and appropriately marked. I could just see that it does give more enforcement power, but
I agree with you there, Kim. I don't, what I don't want is, if a bicyclist has to go around and they're on their phone calling the police, I want someone out here ticketed. I don't. We have the ordinance and people should, we have to have some enforcement, but, grandfather comes to visit his grandchildren and he parks out in the street and he doesn't know our ordinances. Next, he's got a $100 ticket on his car because someone was inconvenienced. I'm grudgingly in favor of it. I'm not going to oppose it, but it all comes down to enforcement. And if people show up here and are whining about enforcement on them, you say, well, then maybe you should write some more checks to the police department so we have enough. I don't like, and you've heard me say this before, I don't like putting things on that are going to require additional, additional police, activities, I guess. But, all right. Anything else on it?
Just a quick question. Again, enforcement probably just give a warning unless it's a habitual violator, my guess is. But this isn't for Cheryl's. Just it has to be a designated bike lane, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that, Don. All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor of ordinance 20230-22, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Alder Jetser, for bringing up the second part on that. Appreciate that. All right, next we have agenda item 5 Delta, resolution R 19723, approving the amended traffic management process. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Kim. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Bill. I think at least Bill and I have sat through and we've seen Ross and the police, talk about amending the process from what we created in, I think it was 2005 or 2007. I can't remember which year I was on that. But what I'd like to do, Tim, can you just give a high-level overview of what's changing here, and then we're going to bring on, we'll let Jay would like to speak, and then Sue Easterday would like to speak.
Yes, so the original neighborhood traffic management plan was adopted in the year 2000 with updates in 2005 and 2010, and implementation of traffic calming measures has become restricted by the neighborhood traffic management process. Lower vehicle speeds have been statistically proven to reduce vehicular injuries and fatalities. We're looking to change the name of the neighborhood traffic management process to traffic management process to better reflect its purpose. We're looking to modify the parameters of the process to allow more traffic calming projects to be implemented in the city of Fitchburg.
Thank you. All right, let's have our public speak. Jay's got quite a list here he would like to go over. So, Jay, just state your name and address again for the record.
My name is Jay Hockmuth. I live at 2888 Osmondson Road, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm an engineer by background and a state employee for 37 years. There are a number of items covered in an email that I sent to the members of the board this afternoon. And I'm just going to highlight a few of them for purposes of the 3-minute limitation today. This process has been around since 2000, and I think the people who put it together originally, and there's been some adjustments, should be commended for trying to involve the neighborhoods that are most directly impacted by speeding, getting those neighborhoods involved, and moving forward with an orderly review of options, and coming up with a plan, submitting it to this board, and then moving forward based on a priority system. So all of that works well. I'm fully in support of it. A number of people I spoke with in our neighborhood are. There's some other proposed changes that are part of this package that I would like to talk about briefly. And I'm not sure what the origin of the proposals is. First I really saw the details was when this matter was referred to this board by the council about a couple of weeks ago. And there are 3 key things that I think you really need to think about as the Board of Public Works and make some decisions about whether you want any of these features in the plan that the process that the council ultimately adopts. There's other aspects of this as well, but I'll just focus on 3 things. There's a process in place currently that has the neighborhood work with the city engineer to develop a plan, and that plan is submitted to this board. I really hope you don't take that out as being proposed by what was referred to you. There's a number of reasons for this. I'm not going to go into those due to time limitations, but I'd be happy to spend additional time if anybody has any questions about the rationale for that request. Secondly, there's a proposal to have the TTC also review any plan for traffic calming. And I think that's redundant. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's, the Board of Public Works has members who have the expertise to deal with traffic issues. If members of the TCC, and there is some overlapping membership, but if members of the TCC have an issue with a particular traffic calming plan, they can bring that to the Board of Public Works and have their concerns evaluated to the extent they have concerns about a particular plan. The third provision is that the city engineer shall have authority to submit all traffic calming plans to the Board of Public Works. And here again, I think this is a non-necessary feature. If the city engineer has an issue with a traffic calming plan that originates from a neighborhood process, the city engineer can bring those issues to this board for consideration. They shouldn't have authority to veto or control the submissions to this board, in my humble opinion. And also one other point, broadening the definition of who can submit a community action request, which is the thing that starts the traffic calming evaluation. Don't believe that the definition should be broadened. Also in my comments, and Sue and me jointly submitted these comments this afternoon, if any of the provisions that I just mentioned are included, we encourage this board to recommend that a grandfather clause be included that says any community action request submitted before the end of this year is subject to the process that existed prior to its most recent revisions, with the exception of the speed, the 85% speed threshold. We do agree completely that that should be lowered from 35 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour. There's way too much speeding in Fitchburg, and that change will allow more traffic calming opportunities within the city. Currently live on a street that the 85 percentile is 33 miles per hour, which in the absence of this change would make Osmondson not eligible for consideration for phase 2 measures. So we hope that grandfather clause would be included if these other changes, any of them are included. And also a statement that the board can't approve a traffic calming plan that's inconsistent with the requirements on figure 3.5 on page 56 of the bicycle and ped plan. And this figure is entitled Existing Neighborhoods Not Subject to Sidewalks or Shared Use Paths. I, for one, I can't speak for anybody else, but I, for one, am very concerned that if the changes that are being proposed right now are included, all of a sudden we're going to wind up with sidewalks on streets that are currently in the bike and ped plan as being exempt from sidewalks. We also ask that the council and this board consider holding a public hearing at the start of the council meeting before they vote on any changes to the existing process, and that the notice of that hearing be given at least 2 weeks in advance. The council meeting is 3 weeks away, so there's plenty of time to notice this and then hold that hearing before any changes are made. There was extensive public involvement to develop the original plan. I can't say exactly how much occurred for the amendments but I think it makes sense to have more public involvement on this before these changes are approved by the council, or some of them. And then we also ask that if you take a look at the referral sheet for this item, you'll see two things there. One is a memo that proposes what the process should be in the view of the people who submitted it. The other is the existing process as amended. We think that some sort of a crosswalk would be totally appropriate to explain what's retained, what's taken out, what's added, why is that being done. That is going to facilitate public involvement, because what we have right now is two memos, some consistency, some inconsistency, but really, unless you want to spend hours figuring this out, you cannot readily determine what's new, what's old, what stays the same. So I really appreciate the time you've taken to listen to this. You may be asking yourself, why is a 76-year-old guy dabbling in this? Well, the reason I'm dabbling is because I'm a big proponent of public participation, and I think that an item that comes to this committee from a referral from the council without any other public involvement in it, and given the significance of this process, we need more public involvement. So thank you for considering these remarks this evening.
Thank you, Jay. Sue?
Hi there, Sue Easterday, 2731 Osmondson Road. I am the contact on the city website for Wildwood neighborhood, which has 330 homes and is adjacent to Seminole Forest. And as Parks Commission Chair, I know that people sit in this chair to complain, but I want to let you all know I believe everybody involved in this issue and process has good intentions from their perspective. The example I'm going to give speaks to retaining public input, neighborhood input in the process. So I'm going to start with my example here. Recent work done by Jay Hockmuth and others in the Seminole Forest area, including their District 4 alders, is a response to council action on July 25th, creating a 2024 Capital Improvement Plan 3450 to paint 5 stripes on all of Osmondson Road running through Wildwood and Seminole Forest and all of Pembroke Street, which is exclusively in Wildwood, as a traffic calming measure. Wildwood is in District 2. Pembroke Street has 45 homes with frontage, and Osmondson's portion of Wildwood is 32 homes. Of those 77 affected frontage owners in Wildwood, a request for calming measures came from one household that I'm aware of. And if there were more, that's just not been shared with me. Preceding this vote, there were a few days public notice, no effort made to contact Wildwood to discuss this with the frontage owners or the full neighborhood to reach a consensus. And we'd have tried to help if we were asked and been given enough time. Not everyone in Wildwood sees a need for traffic calming on these streets, or at least the section of those streets closest to them, or of any imagined traffic calming approach. Stripes are viewed as an ineffective eyesore. Stripes for parking lanes fuel use and bike lanes that will be ignored is a poor solution. And striping may give the impression that the legal speed is higher than 25, as they are used often on major streets where there really is a need. We've not been shown the studies so often cited to support that street stripes will change auto speeds in a setting exactly like ours. 100% single family, road widths to 70s standards, streets devoid of parked cars with sparse traffic outside of commute hours. I acknowledge all these details exceed the breadth of your discussion tonight, but please consider how this process might have been improved. Tonight, please do something that was not done in July. Insist on early engagement with affected neighborhoods, especially all homeowners with frontage. Rigorous engagement should have come first. What is before you now seems to remove that crucial step and makes a complicated process more daunting. Another concern is that what happened to us is the start of a trend. It has been observed that the Transportation and Transit Committee heavily favors bike lanes. By routing traffic calming requests to them first, they may reinforce the same 5-stripe solution all throughout residential Fitchburg, and that is no solution at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay. So I'm certainly in favor of more public input. Bill, what do we have on the agenda? Is the 28th the big approving the budget? Is that we won't have enough time?
No, I think
No,
the
that has to-
14th is budget, and then that's why the traffic management program was originally slated for the 14th and moved to the 28th because of budget.
Okay, all right. So
On council or here, or where do you,
Council.
oh, council,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Wasn't sure what you were talking about.
So it's conceivable we could have a public meeting on the 28th.
Yes.
So I would be, two things that I would take away right now. I don't want to vote on this. I'd like to have a public hearing or public input, and to have that, I would like to have, kind of the comparison of the existing versus what's changing. If it was just 10 bullet points, however you want to do it, so that we could get that out, and then we have a scheduled public hearing for that 28th, and then we move forward from there is what I would prefer, but I will defer to the board's thoughts on this too.
Do you want to postpone this and take this up at our next Public Works meeting, which will precede the 28th? And give.
I would like to have that public hearing at council first before taking it up, Bill, is what I'm thinking is would be my. Then I feel like I'd be in a better position to Jay listed quite a few things. I'd like to hear what people have to some more people have to say about this, and then the meeting in December is when Public Works meeting in this first one in December is when I'd like to take this up again. But I'm open to what the board would like to do.
It is, we're coming up on winter. There's probably not a lot that could be done on streets anyway, so it's not like we're in a rush.
Yeah, I appreciate the good work Public Works has done on this. They've worked hard on this, and I'm stabbing them in the back a little bit by wanting to tell you a little more, but I feel it'd be worth having. I attended, and you were at the same meeting with me when the meeting when they were discussing that, and that was just one neighborhood, so there might be more people in other neighborhoods that have some thoughts on it. So I would prefer to defer this vote or discussion until the December. Let me see here. December 4th meeting. Opinion one way or the other?
I guess I was a little overwhelmed when I read through this, and I was trying to compare the two plans without a comparison, so I do think that is a very good suggestion. I think it would help us understand when you're proposing a change between and what caused a problem with the first one and why is this a better option for the second one, if we knew exactly where those are. I did not, I'll be perfectly honest, I did not feel ready to vote on this tonight. I was sort of surprised that something of this magnitude came by without ever hearing that it was going on in the first place. One question that I do have is, like on page 60 of 78 of our packet tonight, we talk about a phase 1 treatment criteria and phase 2 treatment criteria. Phase 1 says your ADT has to be less than 200. Phase 2 says you have to be between 500 and 3,000. What happens if your ADT is like 400? Where do you fit? Which way do you go? And there's a lot of residential streets that I would think might be between 200 and 500 vehicles. So I just wasn't sure. I tried looking through here to see, are you not eligible for either phase 1 because you're not too low or phase 2 because you're not too high? So those people don't have any input. I was confused about that. And then I started digging into all these things and I started looking at the two next to each other to try to figure out, and I was sort of confused. So I'm not saying that I disagree with anything. I think there is probably a lot of validity to some of these things, but I think the comparison would be very helpful. Also, excuse me, I am not in favor of passing something and then grandfathering in certain clauses for this specific situation and certain clauses for this specific situation. I think when we do it, we set an effective date and things should be, from there moving forward to make the whole process a lot cleaner and clearer. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Don?
I agree. Let's defer it so we can have more thought. But Tim, if you could highlight in the one pager or whatever it is, what the public involvement process is. I think that's important. The other part of this, this seems to be driven by if someone locally wants some sort of safety enhancement. Do you have a process outlined based on excessive speeding or crashes that you would invoke some sort of mitigation strategy without waiting for someone that lives in the area to say, can you do some sort of mitigation?
I mean, we would go by this traffic management process. That's the purpose of it.
But maybe I got it wrong, but it has to be driven by someone in the area requesting it.
Correct.
So if you have a
but also, I mean,
speed
staff can too. If police were to come to Public Works and say, hey, we've seen an uptick in crash data at this location, are there any engineering measures that can be incorporated? It's something we'd take a look at, and that wouldn't go through this traffic management process.
And if law enforcement identifies we got speed problem here, would that trip jumping in your phase 1 and 2 solutions?
We would look at it internally outside of this process, if that were the case.
Okay.
Don, I would say I can think of very few places in the city where they aren't aware, that of the speed, that it's normally from the residents to the police that the concern would come, I think most. But all right. Also, would someone like to move that we defer until? Yes, Kim. Oh, Bill, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tim, I'm looking through, I'm not finding it, but I thought one of the changes was that previously a CAR was required to organically sprout from the neighborhood, and one of the changes was that either the neighborhood could do that or staff could bring it. Is that right?
Correct. So, and that's kind of, the means on how it could be brought to us. It's not just a neighborhood or a resident too. We have businesses on streets that the business owner may not be a resident. However, they see, the speeding or looking for traffic calming on their street. Therefore, that's why we're looking at removing the neighborhood component to allow the business owners that may not be a resident of the city of Fitchburg to also provide us, be able to take part in this process, because the street that their business is on, they're seeing speeding and looking for traffic calming on that.
And I'll just make one more comment that's not directly, related to these changes, but for the benefit of Sue. That was my CIP amendment to put in the funding for traffic calming on Pembroke and Osmondson, and in addition to, there's one more street. Based on discussions with a resident, we said, why don't we just pretend we're going to do bike lanes, okay? And so that's what the amount of funding was based on. Basically, the CIP allows us to allocate dollars, and it specifically said bike lanes, but there was plenty of discussion at that July meeting about whether the residents wanted bike lanes or some other solution. And I think, generally agreed upon that whatever the residents want, we should do. But if we don't put the money in the CIP, nothing could happen until at least one additional year. So that was the purpose of the amendments, was to get some funding into the budget for 2024.
Thank you, Bill. All right, do we have a motion to defer this until the December 4th Board of Public Works meeting?
Let's defer it.
We have a second? I'll second. Second by Kim. All in favor of deferment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What's the process to put for a public hearing at council on the 28th? How do we get that word out?
Probably talk to Tracy.
All right. I will talk to Tracy. All right, that moves us. Thank you for everyone that came and spoke on this. Appreciate it. Jay. Then our next public works meetings. We have 3 before the end of the year. Monday, November 20th, Monday, December 4th, and Monday, December 18th. Bill, are you going to be here on the 20th? November 20th?
Yes, I will.
I would ask you to chair. I'll be Zooming.
Okay.
Zooming in. I'm going to be up hunting. I'll Zoom in, but I would ask you to chair that meeting if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay. And then our first two. Let's talk about this right now. See if we can get this off the slate here quick. Our first two in January fall on New Year's. Looks like New Year's Day and Martin Luther King holiday. So does the board have any thoughts on that? Moving to the 8th and the 22nd acceptable? That we'd go to the even Mondays that month? Anybody?
So that would be one day before the Associated Council meeting, if that matters to anyone.
Yeah.
We also need to worry about
Scheduling.
Tim and Scott's schedule.
Yeah. So Tim, let us know if those will work for you. If not, we'll pick other dates.
Okay.
All right, I'll leave that. 8th and the 22nd. January 8th and January. The other Mondays. So I'll let you get back to me if those will work. If not, we'll propose some other dates. Okay. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Moved by Bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.